Hello, everyone. We are Hyperreal Film Club. I'm David. I'm here with Jenni and Tanner. We're a local film organization here in Austin, Texas. We do lots of film screenings and video zines, film reviews. We're about to start a podcast. And today, we are so excited to be joined by Karen Schaler, who is the incredible writer of A Christmas Prince, among lots of other Christmas tales, and we're gonna have a Christmas chat.
I'm so excited to be here.
Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I love what you're doing with the club, and congratulations on the podcast.
Well, thank you. Karen, I wanted to ask, I feel like, me and Jenni have like a virtual Christmas backgrounds. I'm here at the annual Fozzywood Christmas party, but are you at an actual North Pole?
Thank you for asking. It's a great question. As a matter of fact, I was just doing a Zoom call. I was also putting together a kind of a webcast called Christmas Karen Behind the Story, where I take you behind the scenes of making these Netflix Lifetime Hallmark Christmas movies. So I had the director on of my Christmas Camp Hallmark movie. He's like, wait, what movie are you doing and what set are you on? And that's better. And he's like, that's better than some of the stuff we had in your movie. It's great. Now, are you all green screen behind you? Green screen?
Yes, unfortunately, I'm not in this very quaint Christmas town.
Well, I want you to know that it's kind of a crazy story, but I'm based in New York City usually, but when COVID hit, I came to Scottsdale, Arizona. And this is an actual screen, an actual thing I unfolded that came in Amazon. I think I can touch it. And it's 10 feet by 10 feet in my living room. It's my whole, I had a cable guy come over, and he was like, what is happening here? And this has been set up since July because I do Christmas in July and I have been nicknamed Christmas Karen. So it sounds crazy, but I actually like it. So yeah, I say I'm in the North Pole, but it was like 110 degrees in July here in Scotland. So here I am.
You answered one of my questions, which was, how do you feel about Christmas in July? So I guess you must love it.
I do. I absolutely love it. Well, my second movie, Christmas Camp, debuted in July. And Hallmark always picks one or two movies to kind of start their Christmas in July. And it was Christmas Camp. And that's why we'll talk about that because I know we're talking A Christmas Prince, today, but that's why things kind of snowballed, no pun intended. But when they announced in July, the Christmas Camp, people were like, I want a real one. I'm like, I'm going to create a real one. And then it gave me the opportunity to do that in time for Christmas, where you could come to an actual place and bring the Hallmark movie and the books I wrote to life and live in a movie. So that's what I'm doing. And this year, of course, I'm doing them virtually. So I was so glad to zoom in and see you guys, because anytime I can talk about Christmas or maybe share some tips for writers out there or just fans, I'm in.
Well, that's one of the things that we all really wanted to ask you about is, can you describe a day in the life of Christmas Camp?
Oh, gosh, of course. I mean, which one? I have the movie, the books, and the real life. I mean,
I would love to hear. So if the three of us were to, in a non-COVID year, if we were to attend the Christmas camp that you put on, what would we do? What's
oh my goodness. And that's what's making me, to be honest, I'm so thankful for social media because it's connecting us all. But because a year ago I was hosting the 14 days of Christmas camp, it's popping up as memories. And it's, and I love it. And I'm so thankful, but I'm like, so what I did is, in the Hallmark movie, the quick synopsis, although Tanner probably knows it, but it's a girl who's a little Grinchy. And so she is sent to a Christmas boot camp for her holiday attitude adjustment. And I'm so glad that line stayed in because, we'll talk about screenwriting is such a collaboration. I'm in the Writers Guild now. So when things get changed, I'm more apt to be a part of it. But for my first couple movies, I wasn't union, meaning they can buy the movie and see you later, alligator, and who knows what's going to happen to it. And if you're a writer and you're really precious about your words, like most of us are, you're thankful when you have that perfect line. So it's even in the promos about the holiday attitude adjustment. So she goes to a Christmas camp, different people with their own needing therapies. There's a dad who's newly divorced with 2 tweens that are, would rather be on the phone than do any kind of Christmas. There is a mom whose son is in Afghanistan. There's a newly married couple, I love this one, who have totally love each other to death, but have completely different ideas on how to celebrate Christmas, so it's their first year together and they're trying to blend family traditions. So they all end up the little dysfunctional misfits, at this Christmas camp, where it's all about relaxing, enjoying, remembering the true heart of Christmas. And so in the Hallmark movie, which was written first, because this is important, I wrote it first. I had all these magical things that answering your question of what you would do when you come to my real Christmas camp. So I have all these activities. Then I decided, after I gave the movie to Hallmark and all the executives, and they were in a rush, it was a fast turnaround to get it on the air. It usually is with these Christmas movies. All of a sudden I was so sad because I gave it, and I don't get to be on set. I wasn't going to get to be part of it. That's pretty normal with I'd say the majority of the Christmas movies. They're only shot in like 2.5 weeks. It's turn and burn real fast. Wow. And I'm actually already working on another movie, but still I handed it over and I'm like, I love this story so much. So I got the idea to write the book. What if I write the book and the book can come out, and that way I can make sure it's exactly, and if they change things, that's cool because it's their movie and it's a collaboration, but I'll still tell the story that I want to tell. I get to be the director, the actor. So it's really, and if Tanner has seen the movie, it's really interesting because the director who I had on my podcast, Jeff Fisher, who's phenomenal. He's done some other Christmas movies. You guys have to have him on because he's fantastic. And he has a cute little dog named Dash. So we love him. We love him always. But he talked about the fact that it was being shot in upstate New York in July, 100 bazillion degrees, and I had this huge sledding scene. And when I was developing it with my executives, they wanted that in. They said, no, we're going to make it happen, along with some other scenes. But when push came to shove, long and short, budget and what have you, a lot of things were cut. Mm-hmm. And so interesting, people think that I wrote the books first and it was adapted, and then they get sad and go, oh, they changed the movie. It was the movie first. It's just so much different than the book. And I always say, you can put as much magic as you want in the book because there's no budget. And so I think, and each Hallmark movie has different budgets and different tiers and different timelines, but it's still that same heartfelt story. So what I did, I created a real life Christmas camp, and you could come for 1 day, a week, or what have you. And I brought in a lot of the traditions that were from the Hallmark movie, and specifically the book, in case it was left out. So we did everything from make the Christmas camp signature cookies. And when I say make, we can't have 200 people, in the Phoenician Resort, which is a 5-star luxury resort here, with chef. He would kill me because he's a pastry chef. But what we did is we made my grandma's recipes, and then we set them up and we decorated them. Meanwhile, the pastry chef would give tips on cooking while I'm telling stories about the inspiration. And it was just a bunch of people getting together. And then we had a Christmas camp cocktail mixology classes where we had signature Christmas camp cocktails. We have hot cocoa. In the book, I talk about, one of my favorite parts is about how the stars in the sky represent the people that we've loved and lost, that are looking down on us, but always with us. And that was so important to me because we've all lost someone, and Christmas can be so hard. But at Christmas camp, to bring that to life and to honor it, we brought in an astrologer, and it was as simple as put up a telescope and put chairs out for the people we wanted to remember. And we just gathered and we toasted them and had a moment to think, and had a little astrology lesson about, the stars that were in the sky. And then we had things like, there's always gift wrapping in these movies, right? Usually funny little scenes. So we had a specialist that was actually tips on gift wrapping. I mean, here we were going to do Christmas camp yoga to Christmas music. We had Christmas camp blowouts. We partnered with iCar. I mean, you name it, you guys. And it was funny because the Today Show heard about it, and they came to New York and interviewed me as Christmas Karen, having written at that time 4 Christmas movies and 3 novels in 2 years. So they came to New York to hear about this crazy girl that lives in Christmas. And when they heard I was bringing it to life, they wanted to come. So they actually came the next month, and they said, well, we'll just pick different things. It's every hour. To be honest, we probably put in too much last year. It was like started at 10. There was a 2-hour break for lunch. Everyone was on their own. It was like 10, 11, 12, 1, 2. And then we have of course, we screen Christmas camp, and then we have pajamas. We just ugly sweater contest, you name it. So it's way too much information. But one thing I do want to say, literally, you guys are the first that I'm talking to, because I've been blessed to be able to talk to a lot of people, because I'm doing virtual Christmas camps. But a lot of people, we're all busy. I just created, and you'll have to go on my website in a couple days because it's literally being made. I just created a DIY Christmas camp, a whole guide. It's 10
Wow.
recipes, some of the games, you know, those fun things that you do in the Christmas.
Yeah.
Talk about the Toni Braxton one, because there's a funny story with my Lifetime movie with her. I always try to have a game, and in the back of my books, I always put it so you can do this at home. So my new book, where's my shameless plug? I usually have it. Oh wait, I do have it. My new Christmas Ever After, which I'm writing the screenplay, tie in. No, but the reason I say that is in the back, I have games and things and activities you can do. So I thought, wow, during COVID, we're all encouraged to stay home. So what can we do with recipes? And, you know, there's my second book was how to scavenger hunt. So all of these things at Christmas camp, and we hopefully, you guys, I want you all three to come next year. And I have family in Texas, because I know you're coming to me from Austin, and I did the Austin Film Festival last year. I love Austin. So you guys can be maybe Christmas camp counselors. Yeah.
That's a dream. That is a dream.
Ask me about Christmas camp, because I'm obviously living in it full time, and I just chat. I mean, it's brought so much joy this year, because for this latest novel, it's really a give back where I'm donating a percentage to libraries and bookstores. And I've just decided it's an impossible time. It's so hard on everyone. I'm going to do that. And I'm doing these virtual Christmas camps. And anybody between now and Christmas that sees your episode, seriously, if you are a community group, a church group, a family that needs some uplifting and joy, reach out to me on my website at karenschaler.com. Send me a little note in the contact form, and I will I'm trying to do as many as I can, even if it's just a pop in 15 minutes, if I can uplift someone or if I can just bring cheer. Of course, somebody asked, we can't afford it. I'm like, no, it's free. This is Christmas. You know, I can't imagine charging for that. My goodness, you know, but that's the world we're in. The libraries are like, well, we can't afford it.
Right.
And, you know, so I think that's what we're about. And I love that you guys are honoring Christmas movies. Good segue back to you guys, since I'm just chatting away. But thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing it. I think we need Christmas movies now more than ever. So thank you.
Thank you. You are a Christmas angel. Speaking of screenwriting, I'd be curious to hear if there is an ideal formula for a Christmas film.
Oh, that's such a great question. What I did, I was a journalist, which is crazy. So I actually was a war zone correspondent. I was in Afghanistan in 2017. 2007. And
Wow.
I was embedded with an Apache helicopter unit. And so my background was hard news, crime, investigative, war. And so I did this 180, and I wanted to start telling stories that were uplifting, inspiring, and empowering. And I created a travel show, which I'm still doing, called Travel Therapy, Where Do You Need to Go? But one winter I wasn't able to travel. And so all of a sudden I'm watching all the Hallmark and Lifetime Christmas movies. You know, this was 2016. And I'm watching them, and I always wanted to be a screenwriter. I always wanted to write these movies. And so I started studying them just like a journalist, investigative. I literally watched, I said, if you watch them now, you'll see it's almost always around 18 minutes is the first act break. Now this year, because of COVID, it might've changed, because the last 3 years I've had movies, but it's always right around 18 minutes is the first act break. And then they're always 6 to 7 minutes. There's always at a certain point, because you're writing a movie of the week, a MOW, you know, you do still do your act breaks. They'll often get changed, but as a writer, it's smart to kind of know. But okay, the second one's 10 minutes, and then they go near the end, they're only like 6 minutes. So long and short, know your formula, because your formula for a Hallmark movie is going to be different than a Lifetime movie, and it's going to be very different for Netflix. You have Up, Ion, all these other people getting in the game. So the number one thing I would tell anyone to do, watch the actual genre, because they are even more different this year than I've seen. Lifetime and Hallmark were in the very similar lane when I was doing both at the same time. And, you know, heartfelt, uplifting, feel good. Christmas is a character. That's my number one tip to anyone. If anyone takes away anything I've ever said at my conferences or anything, if you're going to write a Christmas movie, you have to remember Christmas is a character, and it's the main character. And I have seen things recently, because everyone jumped in because they can make Christmas. And I've had producers get a hold of me, and they just say, oh yeah, we got a rom-com. We're going to throw up a tree and some lights. Can you just make it, you know, it'll be Christmas. But there's no Christmas story. There's no Christmas theme. There's nothing. And a lot of them are rated R. They're kind of crude. They're trying to be edgy and hip, and they're throwing in stuff that you're like, that's cool. I'm no prude, but that really doesn't belong in a Christmas movie. I am like, leave Christmas alone. kind of comedy, which again, not against it. I love good comedy, but when it's crass and crude, and I thought maybe I'm just a little old fashioned. So I reached out to my 18-year-old friends, my 20-year-old friends, and there's some movies, I won't say names. I'm like, what do you think? Am I just old fashioned? And they're like, no, it wasn't funny. I think it would have been funny like a normal movie rom-com, but because it was Christmas, it felt icky. That's one of my 20-year-olds said, it felt icky. And so I think if you're writing Christmas, know the lane you're in. If you're a sci-fi writer and think, oh man, they're selling Christmas scripts, I'm just going to take an alien that kills 6 people and say it happened at Christmas. I mean, you might find a buyer, you never know, but I really think this is such a specific genre, and it's why we all connect. People are like, why are people obsessed with this movie? Christmas Prince, why? And it's because we know at the end of the day, we're going to get our happily ever after. We're going to get feel good. It's why romance books that I write as well are so popular. People tease people about writing romance, going, oh, it's cheesy. Think about it. When you pick up a mystery or like a James Patterson or something like that, you're reading to find out what the end is. You're watching a movie like an Aaron Sorkin movie because you want to know what the end is. And you're engaged for that hour and a half or 2 hours. In a rom-com, you know the ending. So it better be good character development, and it better be a beautiful setting to get people to watch the whole way. It's a totally different way of writing than I think all the other genres. That's my personal thoughts.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I love the breakdown that the act breakdown that you picked up from all those films.
Yeah. And you guys, it's actually kind of fun. I mean, now because of streaming, it's so much easier. I was literally watching live because I was in New York. I wasn't set up with streaming or anything. I know I saw 90, and then Hallmark wasn't putting it. They didn't have Hallmark Now then. They weren't putting it on their TV subscribe channel. So they're smart. They're going to make you watch live. So I literally had a notebook, and I challenge you guys to do it just for fun. You can just fast forward now, right? You can just go zoom, and you'll see where those breaks are. And it's almost exactly for like 20 movies. Then there's always I won't say the swear word that I usually say. See, I told you I'm no angel, but there's always the oh crap moment. So, they have to meet and everything in the first 10 minutes. The first 2 pages, I usually spill it all. They're the woman. She's single. She hasn't dated for a while. She wants a promotion. She needs a new job. And they literally say, hammer it on the head. You got to know that up really fast. And some fun things I can tell you, in the Hallmark world and sometimes in the Lifetime world as well, but especially Hallmark, because I thought it was so fascinating. When a lot of them, you'll have an ex-boyfriend that you get rid of because you meet the new guy, right? But the ex-boyfriend can never be too much of a jerk, because it would reflect on the girl that why did she pick a jerk in the first place? What was wrong with her? Which is an interesting point I never thought of. But there's all these behind the scenes like tricks and things that you need to know. And 2 Hallmark things, I read everything. I didn't just watch. I looked at all the executives. I wanted to know their thoughts, any interviews. And so I really did research it and made sure I knew the lane that I was in. And I love that one of the former top Hallmark execs said when he was reading scripts, if I'm not crying, I'm not buying. And I thought that was genius. And then one of the current Hallmark execs is famously for saying, if there's no snow, no go. If you're a screenwriter and you have a beautiful Caribbean, I've traveled, I love the Caribbean. If you have a beautiful Caribbean Christmas story that you think is so beautiful, might not want to pitch it to them, because it might happen. But as of last year, that was still the rule.
Right. Yeah, you have to have the Christmas feels, and Christmas just feels like snow.
Right, exactly. Or at least, now my Lifetime movie we did in Atlanta, I mean, it was that we actually shot in Canada, like a lot of them are shot, but we set Atlanta and we never saw snow, and it was fine. It had nothing to do with the movie. We had it because it was also inspired by A Christmas Carol. So it was our Scrooge, Tony Scrooge type story. But that's, I think, the biggest thing for the tips I tell people is Christmas is a very specific genre, and watch the greats, watch the Hallmark and Lifetime. They've done some amazing, of course, my home, Netflix. I mean, we love Netflix, but Netflix, because they have a global audience, they're really doing this year especially, wow, right? When it comes to variety, you have the sweet, feel good, heartfelt, and then you kind of have the raunchy Christmas, you know what I mean? You kind of have your whole gamut, and they're smart. They're reaching every audience. I wished I had the ratings, they don't share that, right? We all wish we knew. I know when Christmas Prince went big that they were saying it was the second most watched movie ever. But in terms of actual metrics and numbers, we don't usually get to know. But I'd be curious, those ones that are kind of edgy, sexy, are they doing as well?
How they stack up.
Yeah, I'd love to know. So if you find out, you let me know.
We will. Well, we're gonna have to jump off in just a few minutes, but Tanner, I wanted to let you pop a question in.
Oh, of course. I mean, I think on my mind, Karen, you're such a prolific talent. I'm curious if you've written a COVID Christmas story yet.
Oh gosh, that's a great question, Tanner. You know what? It's funny you say that because I'm working on a feature script right now, and it was thought of, would we include it? And I personally just decided right now, because I want to forget about it, that I didn't. I'm not in production. I had a movie that is in development that was supposed to go this year that got pushed to next year. But I don't think by next year, hopefully any of us will ever want to talk about COVID again.
Boy, that's true.
But I just wanted, to honestly, I think that the biggest thing is, another thing I want to give my really 3 quick tips. I should have asked you how much time we had before we started. But if you're a writer out there, it's also really important. I broke in with the Christmas Prince. I was knew nobody, had no agent, had no manager, didn't know a soul in Hollywood. But I had a good story and I believed in it. And so if you have a good story, then research, watch the movies you like, look at those executive producers. You can't reach out to Netflix, Hallmark, and Lifetime. It's not going to happen. But if you can find the producers, they're hungry, and a spec is gold. You put that in the subject line of your email, spec script, Christmas, they're going to open the email. The assistant will open it because it is gold. Now, I'm not saying after they read it and get it, they'll ever talk to you again, joking, because my people have been great, but it's like your calling card. So write your specs if you're trying to break in, and a second one, get an entertainment attorney. I mean, especially if you're not union. Oh, any Hollywood, y'all know this, but please let people know, get a good attorney. Even if it's in the contract, people can break contracts and say, go ahead, sue us. So it's really about who you're doing business with. Make sure you check them out, you get a good contract, and keep writing. I am proof anyone can do it. I mean, I still don't have an agent or a manager. Wow. I've done, in the last 3 years, I have done 5 Christmas movies, and then I've done 4 novels because I want to adapt. For my Christmas Ever After, it's a Mamma Mia meets The Bachelorette love story. I'm hoping to adapt that as a feature. I'm working as a feature. Now, yes, I'm going to be talking to managers this year and agents, but the Writers Guild, when I joined 2 years ago, we had to fire our agents because there was that whole thing. So I have a good entertainment attorney, but I recommend find your team, find your people, and don't give up. Anyone, you can do this if you have a story, but be passionate. And don't waste people's time. Do your research before, if you're lucky enough to get a meeting or someone to read your script, you make sure it's ready.
Those are really amazing tips. Thank you so much for sharing.
Seriously.
I'd love to
Jenni,
talk about wondering like what your favorite Christmas movie is.
I love that you asked that. It's kind of like picking children. So I'm always really careful. I've always liked Miracle on 34th Street, probably because I was my mom and myself, and so that relates, but also the belief in Santa. I always say, always believe, and I do. As a matter of fact, I talked to a producer recently, we were talking about partnering, and I'm like, do you believe? He's like, in what? What are you talking, typical Hollywood big shot. What do you mean? What are you talking about? And I'm like, no, do you believe? I mean, do you? He's like, well, because it says something about you. And then I love the Grinch that was done. I think it was 2000. Don't date me. It's terrible. But I love the one where it shows the reason he's Grinchy is because he was bullied and because he had love and he was teased and he was bullied. And I think that is such an important message right now. And it's just like Elf. I watched it again, all these years later. And it's silly and funny. Of course, it's Will Ferrell. It's genius. But it's really about a boy looking to connect with his father and looking to have that family connection. There's so much heart in these movies. So as long as there's heart and as long as Christmas is honored, I'm in. I will not be going to the movie theater for the raunchy, drunk, Santa, sex scene, swearing, not at Christmas. That's not going to be what I do. That's not the kind of story I'm looking for.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. We learned so much and I can't wait to be a Christmas camp counselor.
You're going to be officially no. And like I was saying, go on my website. And when you click on Karen Schaler books, it's going to say you can download for free this Christmas camp DIY project. So that'll be up through next year too, because I'm going to keep Christmas camp every year is going to be different depending on the movie and books I write. We're going to take the new traditions. So anything you see in my movie and books is what we're going to do at Christmas camp. And that'll be the theme every year. So it should be really fun. And I want you and everyone listening a safe and happy holidays. Everyone, I know we're in this, it's tough, but watching your programming that you're doing right now, that's what I've been doing. Just watching uplifting, inspiring things, and hang in there and be safe.
Thank you so much. Well, have
Thank
a
you, Karen.